Future of influencer marketing. Where are we now? Where are we going? Coming at ya.
Hello from Detroit. I'm Brad.
I'm Joel.
And today we are here to look into the future, right? But no, I mean, influencer marketing is a relatively new marketing channel. I mean, we've been around for a dozen years and we're like the dinosaurs in the space. So, I mean, this is a really high level question, but I mean, where does influencer go in the future?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. So here, I had a couple of thoughts on that. Where influencer is going to go. One, I don't know.
Let's be honest.
I don't know. However, here's what I do know. Is that at the end of the day, this is our operating thesis, this is our raison d'etre, this is how we've kind of structured our company, is that we know at the end of the day, a person with credibility making a recommendation to another interested party is gold. We want that, we want to facilitate that, we want to figure out where we can find that, we want to scour the globe to get that. And insofar as technology provides some venue or model to facilitate that, there's going to be influencer marketing. Now, what degree is it baked into the content versus what degree is it more programmatic?
Right.
What is, what's UGC and what is, paid, whitelisted, whatever it is. There is always going to be variability in the methodology, but the end goal is not going to change. This is why we're platform agnostic. When we started, MySpace was still a thing. Just to put this in context.
Vine came and went.
Vine came
TikTok has came and arrived, and Clubhouse has came and, well, we won't comment on what's happening with Clubhouse. But there's a lot of Johnny-come-lately platforms, but some of them become fixtures, and they become like, oh man, this would have been so good if I could have remembered a really good Johnny athlete. Johnny Jett. We'll just go
Johnny
with
Manziel?
No, he's the, we don't want to. Anyways, yeah, there's so much variability, but I love what you said is that at the end of the day, we know that people really care about trusted voices who have a recommendation for them. And that's why influencer works.
Yeah.
Do you have a horse in the race in terms of what platforms you see being most relevant over the course of the next 4 years?
No, they're different use cases and they have to be understood. And I would say it's a pastime of business writers to be like, which platform is going to take over which, and it's so stupid. Twitter's still a thing. Twitter's still really relevant. YouTube didn't replace Twitter, nor was it going to, and TikTok's not going to replace YouTube, and Facebook's still a thing. Like they're all totally different use cases. They need to be understood as their own countries, and you don't go to England to see the Eiffel Tower. Okay, well, the same thing applies with marketing channels. That was a brilliant metaphor, by the way, just in case it needs to be said. So, yeah, influencer, look, it's going to continue to thrive. There are secular trade winds at our back. What are those? Cord cutting, changes in media habits, people consuming more and more digital content that prevent dollars flowing through the traditional ways. Print is obviously, all of these trends.
Ad blockers.
These are multi-decadal trends. They're not going to change anytime soon.
People hate to be sold to.
Yeah. So we've got a lot. Now, here's what gets interesting is what is going to cause influencer to wane, fail, recede into the background, be noise. What could happen with an influencer that could really damage the efficacy of it?
Well, I think it all comes down to the A word, which is used so often, and that's authenticity. But it really does matter when it comes to influencers. So if an influencer stops advocating for only products that they care about, then influencer is screwed. Like the moment a creator starts advocating for someone because they're just giving them dollars, people are smart at the end of the day. Like they know when they're being sold a bill of goods. And if an influencer doesn't really believe in a product, but they're still advocating for it like they do, first, that creator is going to be really challenged to be able to advocate for other products. But then secondly, it's like it just starts to chisel away a piece of rock at a time to the credibility of influencer as a whole. And you can envision a world, 20 years from now, if things go bad, where people laugh at the idea of trusting what influencers had to say.
Yeah, and we already see some segment. Yeah, there was a creator. This is a fun story. There was a creator who we were doing a deal with them for meal delivery kit 1, and there are meal delivery kits 2, 3, and 4 out in the marketplace, and literally. Right before we were about to go live, one of our people checked their channel, and they'd just done an integration for Meal Delivery Kit 2, and we also knew Meal Delivery Kit 3 was talking to them, and that was it. Like, we cut the influencer. We're not working with them anymore because there's absolutely no way their audience is going to take what they do or say seriously, and that was a huge signal to us. That it's like, yeah, I mean, I think absolutely this is the greatest danger of the influencer space, bar none. When it's formulaic, when it's inauthentic, it's obvious. It's obvious when a creator doesn't give a rip about a product. Audiences know, they're not stupid. And so the good ones, the good creators that are still going to continue to get brand deals are those that are really, really go to extraordinary lengths to be honest. Outdated concept, but to be honest and say, no, I legitimately like this brand. It's not just because they're throwing dollars my way. Or if it's like, hey, I didn't know anything about this brand. They approached me for a brand deal. I looked at the product, and here's what I can honestly say. Mm-hmm. Those who are doing that they're going to continue to work regardless of whatever is happening in the bigger trends. But that just might be a smaller world. So like our consistent appeal to creators, and it's odd because we're constantly going to them saying, hey, are you interested in this brand? And like, while we want them to say yes because we can get a deal done for our client, we also want them, if they're not, to say no, so that we keep that kind of authenticity. And the industry has to police itself here. The agencies have to police itself. The creators have to police themselves, because otherwise, this is it's gonna ultimately damage.
And I think one of the best parts of influencer marketing that a lot of brands shy away from is a nuanced endorsement, because when it comes to selling used cars, you will get more money for your used car if you show a picture in the ad of the scratch or the ding. Why? Because they're going to trust that you're sharing everything with them. So if you're a brand, let an influencer talk about something maybe they didn't like. So if we go back to your meal delivery kit, maybe the bread was like a little bit darker than you care for, right? Like, well, that's okay. Some people have a range of preference. Some people want doughy bread. Some people want more like harder bread, and it's fine, right? There's not right or wrong, but say like, yeah, hey, I didn't really care for this. Maybe I didn't care for this style. I didn't care for this feature on a product or a shirt or whatever it is. But overall, like, here's why I liked it, and here's why it made my life better. That's pure gold. But too many times brands just become stuck in this mindset of, no, we have to have it be positive for my brand. And I think that's true overall, because you don't want to pay for someone to trash your brand in most cases. But like, having something be nuanced, I think is gold. And I'd love to see brands become more comfortable with it.
More adept. Yeah. Again, less control, more trust. And then the creators have to be worthy of that trust.
Yeah. For sure. Are there brands that you would point to that are doing a particularly good job in influencer that give us hope for the future of influencer marketing?
Yes, for sure. So I want to break that into two categories. One, who's being innovative in the space. To that last point, who's loosening the reins of control and trying to figure out how do we genuinely come into this community and participate in it. So on the innovation front is one, and then two, who's just consistently doing this well, who's been a good player and a good partner to this entire ecosystem, and they're doing right by creators, and they've scaled. And it's not to say they're not innovative, but when I think of them, they're just consistent. They're consistently effective. They've come in a big enough way that they're so clearly, like the results of their campaigns are incontrovertible. So first, on the innovation side, I love what Grubhub's doing. I love what Grubhub is willing to risk. I love what Grubhub is willing to try.
Absolutely.
I love the commitment with which they bring to it, where they come into a space and say, there is something here, and we're going to stay until we figure it out. Not we're going to dip our toe in and see what our pinky toe feels, and then extrapolate that the rest of our body will feel that one. Like, they come in with an enormous amount of commitment. So
what they've done in the gaming space is really tremendous, and there wasn't anyone there in that space. They came in and have really owned the gaming space.
Grubhub was the first non-endemic brand to materially and meaningfully come into the gaming space, and they very quickly expanded like, hey, we want to work with gamers. What's that look like? Well, all of a sudden working with gamers is working with esports teams, and it's working with esports leagues, and now it's
streamers
it's
/ athletes,
with streamers, with the athletes, with their social, and then working with retired streamers. Like, there is an ecosystem here that they have come into, and they've done it in a meaningful way. Anybody else on the innovative side that comes to mind?
I think Fiverr's done a pretty good job of this. So Fiverr came into their first Super Bowl ad in February of 2021, and they played off some pop culture things that were happening, which really spoke to their brand around innovation. And then they brought in big time creators across different genres. So someone from Shark Tank and someone from the business and the finance and the real estate investing world, and amplified through those creators. And
they work with Damon John, right?
Yeah, they work with Damon John, they work with Ryan Serhant, and they were advocating for other small businesses to be able to compete, to be able to boost and grow their business through some social contests. So that was really good. I think like being able to take something that was really good, like a well done, really smartly designed Super Bowl ad, and bringing big time influencers and amplifying it. That's great. Love that innovation. What about the first bucket? So that's kind of more, I don't even know the first, second. The two buckets were the innovation, and then folks that have found influencer to be a really strong, consistent, steady piece of their marketing mix. What about that second bucket?
Who's doing it well there?
Yeah.
I love what KiwiCo is doing. They have consistently grown their presence in the influencer community. And KiwiCo is perfect for it because obviously someone's kids can experience like magic on a monthly basis, right? So So if you don't know KiwiCo, it's a monthly subscription service for kids' toys of a range of ages, like STEM boxes, and it's all crafts. And for a parent, it's a really wonderful opportunity to like, I'm going to spend a half hour with my kid. We're going to open this thing up. We're going to do this project together, and the time feels really. It feels worthwhile. It feels meaningful. You're not just sitting in front of a screen together. Not that that's bad, but this is better. Anyway, so KiwiCo, they've partnered with a whole bunch of different creators, and they've consistently grown, and they're consistent, and there is like the creator community has embraced them. They love them.
The science, and it's really around like science, and then parents, and they've continued to grow. They've been very conscious of their brand throughout all this. So yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus, and yes, you can maintain your brand while running strong influencer programs at scale.
Yeah, it's scale. I mean, like they've scaled significantly. Who else? Who would you pick for the?
I would say Simply Safe has really gotten into the home security, the DIY segment. I mean, Simply Safe home security program that's do it yourself, and they have the monthly monitoring, and they've really done a great job with outdoors segment, sort of a male demographic, sort of Midwestern, like classic Midwestern male, and they've just been doing it for years, and it's consistent
and it's working.
It works,
yeah.
right? Because you don't buy a home security system overnight. It's something that you generally are going to think about over time, and they've done a great job of becoming that business that's always there, and they market themselves as someone who is going to earn your business every single month, and that really resonates with who they're partnering with from an influencer perspective. So I love that. So
and they've been consistent, and they've done so. Like, what's interesting about them as well is like home security is not like an aspirational brand. I mean, this is different. Like, it's not going to change your life. It's one of those things that it's like I probably should have it, and they've done a really, really good job of just that playing the consistency game, recognizing that creators aren't going to have a whole lot of new things to talk about because once you've set it up, it's kind of done. You don't have to worry about it or think about it anymore.
Right.
And yet, nevertheless, they've been consistent in that. And so all right. Is there anybody that we want to mention that's just kind of creating noise, or maybe we save that for another video?
Yeah, let's save that for the future. I think the key takeaways here are influencer marketing is here to stay. So given the fact that it's all about trust between an individual and an audience, right? And maybe that's going to continue to scale. That would be what I would predict. But what we know is that people are going to look to individuals that they trust for their recommendations for any purchase. That's going to happen to an infinity.
Yeah.
Platforms are going to come and go. We don't really have a strong opinion on what the right platforms are going to be for the audience in 2025, but there will be platforms that connect along those lines. And good is going to continue to take on different forms, right? So what's good for brand A is going to not necessarily be good for brand B. So there's a lot of ways that you can have success in the future. I personally I put myself out there. I think we're going to continue to see the convergence of UGC, paid social, and influencer. I just think you can get pieces of content that are going to work across so many different angles. And I think that's going to be a huge part of the influencer puzzle for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to be more effective.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, thanks for sticking around. We appreciate it. It's good to see you. Follow us on all of our social, and we'll catch you next time. So long from Detroit.